So here's something that's hard to hear, especially if you've been doing it for years. Hard work is actually keeping you broke. So in this video, I'm going to show you how I've restructured my income. So yes, I am working hard, but I'm not just working hard. I'm also including leverage so that I could build my income. And this is especially if you're dyslexic. Okay, so for a long time, I thought something was wrong with me. I mean, I felt like I understood business enough, but then I just felt like I'd get to a certain point and I was just sucking at work. And so what I realized is when I got into a business and I was solving problems and like there was chaos everywhere, I did well there. Like I was creative problem solving. And then as soon as it kind of got to the day to day, mundane, operational detail in the weeds every single day, I absolutely sucked. Which I didn't realize at the time is I was just like, okay, this is my weakness. This is just something. This is another mountain to climb. This is another challenge. And so I kept working hard and hard and hard and hard. And this cycle carried on for probably about 3 to 5 years, right? I'm just like working hard at it. Let me get better. Let me get better. Let me sort out my weaknesses. I'm a strong leader. I can do this. I overcome challenges. This is another problem to solve. This was not a problem to solve. This was a problem to leave it as it is and focus on my strengths. Because you know what was happening as I was spending all of this time trying to address my weaknesses and fix that, I was actually taking away from what I could make and my strengths, which is creative problem solving. And this really hit me recently because what I decided to do is I've known I've been dyslexic for a long time. I've known I've been dyslexic for almost 15 years now. And you know what never really stuck with me? It was like I never went to check, like, okay, how does a dyslexic person work? Because working as an independent contractor, it's not like working as an employee where, it is there. You tell your employer that you're dyslexic, that this big corporate company, and they have like HR or someone like a organizational psychologist who understands, okay, people who are dyslexic need this kind of environment to do well. Da, 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 da. Didn't do it. I did not do any research. I just went in and I was like, I'm a knuckle this down. I'm gonna do it. However, that was a mistake. And so last year, when everything fell apart and I lost two of my big clients, and I was like, okay, I'm starting over again. I've got to do something different. So I started doing some research on people who are dyslexic and how, like, their strengths and their weaknesses. And then there's Richard Branson, who is like, the most popular dyslexic person in the world. And he talked about how he had to get really good at delegation. So for things that were in the detail, things that had a lot of numbers and a lot of detail, then he was not the best person for that. So he got someone really smart who could do that. His main strength was in the way that he creatively problem solves and how he goes into the world with his big bad visions, right? And so I was like, what if I've been focusing on the wrong thing this whole time? What if I just leave my, what I call my anti-talent alone, the thing that I don't do well, and give it to someone who does? And let me just focus on what I do well and give myself permission to just suck at that and be totally okay with it. And that opened so many things to me, including this channel. Okay, so with this realization, now I'm building my income and I'm encouraging you to think about how you can build your income too. I'm building my income not just on effort alone, but on leverage as well. And it's not just because I'm dyslexic. Some people just think like that. They're bigger, creative problem solvers, and they are like, lay deep in the detail of things. And so dyslexic thinking, what I've learned is that it is pattern based. If you see me looking to this, I'm just remembering all of the points that I want to say. So dyslexic thinking is pattern based. It's big picture. It's about interpretation, storytelling, communication, and creative problem solving, right? So it's got all of these elements. And when I look at that, I'm like, heck yeah, I love those things. Like I can read a book about communication. I could be like, all right, this is a big problem to solve. Like, for example, when I wanted to live in England and my mom told me we have no money, figure that out. And when I wanted to move to Colombia and make USD, and I'm just like, I have no idea where to start, what to do, all the things. And then 4 years later, I'm in Colombia and, like, the coffee shops drinking my little coffee. And so I love creative problem solving. So I was just like, yes, this is it. So how does this translate to you? If you're not dyslexic, like just kind of thinking like what really gets you alive, and then how can you build your income around that? When I'm thinking only in terms of effort, I'm thinking how hard can I work, right? That is just effort based thinking. And then when I'm thinking in terms of leverage, I'm thinking, how do I do this once and never do it again? So you'll see me here building systems all day long, telling you about the systems that I'm using, telling you systems, how I'm like implementing AI, and that is purely because that is all leverage. Art is all day, all that is leverage all day long, and it could be even as simple as this: I eat the same breakfast every single day. It's leverage because it's reducing the decisions that I have to make every day, and what that means, I have more capacity in my brain to be making bigger decisions like creative problem solving. Like, for example, how am I going to get my YouTube channel to 25,000 subscribers, have my mission and what I want to share with the world out there, and I have 29 today. Much better thought than, am I going to have eggs for, how many eggs do I want for breakfast? Do I want scrambles? Do I want an omelet? No, not where we're going today. Okay, so income number one is I still want to be working inside of a company. However, this is going to be different. This is me like really taking in my strengths, like I mentioned, like communication. It would be like something that would involve selling. It would be something that would involve, like I mentioned, like creative problem solving. I also love bringing people together and putting on events and having them meet each other and connect with each other and have beautiful friendships form out of that. So that's something that I enjoy. And I'm like, can I bring these things into this role? And then am I also in a position where I can delegate the things that I'm not necessarily good at? Now, this doesn't mean that I 100% want a job that I enjoy and I don't like any of it. Absolutely not, because there will be some things that I don't like. However, I'd like to keep that at maybe 30% of my job and 70% of what I like. And side note, I built a system around that because I do have a time in my calendar scheduled for things I'm avoiding and I don't like doing. So that is income stream number one. So that's getting a paycheck, right? Very simple. Income stream number two is I'm going for either equity, which is where I am a part owner, or I am a part owner or considered a partner, profit partner inside of the business. The other one is I would also be going for some performance related pay. So if it's not necessarily equity or part owner, it would be performance related pay, which can be, attached to profit as an example, or sales, new sales generated as an example. So that's what I'm going as a second source of income. And this, I would be looking at having it in the same company. Ideally, that would be my first choice. If it doesn't, maybe there's a way to figure it out. However, I don't want my attention like scattered over many things. I'd like one opportunity that really makes sense, that I can really bring that energy into, and I get my paycheck, and I also get performance related pay on top of that. Then the other one is my YouTube channel, which is where you're here. So when I think about YouTube is very much a long game, right? I probably will not make a single penny off of it for like the next maybe 6-9 months, and it's just continuous effort every single month before we actually see anything coming out of it. However, even though it's going to take long term, like it's more long term thinking, I do want that. I want something where I can be putting in, every single week, and it'll pay back. Like maybe these videos a year from now will still be on, and that means they're still assets that can keep working for me even when I'm not. So the effort that I put in 6 months ago, 8 months ago, 9 months ago can still be working for me. And also building a community, building a tribe that can come with me as I really creating this, right? So that's another asset that I have. And not only that, like doing the YouTube channels, like it's really changing me. Like I think I'm getting the most benefit. Yes, I'm doing it to share my message and to share it with y'all, so you can see how I'm thinking about income, and also how you can be structuring your income so you can be in a place where you're really feeling like, financially literate and financially independent, as well as you're at least moving in the direction that actually makes sense for you in that way. And you know how to generate income for yourself and how to think about it. That is super important. And not just from a money side of thing. Like this thing doing YouTube gives me energy. When sometimes when I'm like doing something I do not enjoy for like 3 hours, I will spend an hour just researching the angles that I want to take the next video on. And I just get so pumped. I get so excited about it. So it's not just that, like I realize that it gives me energy. And how did I do that? So I realized that it gives me energy. I don't think there was one thing that was mentioned in that conversation that I got right. And I remember this person also telling me, actually, you know what, for the next foreseeable future, I don't really see the things that go well, but I'm going to point out everything that's going well. And I was like, huh, interesting. I didn't say anything. And when I listened to that, I thought to myself, is this how I want to live my life? Consistently having the things that I'm doing wrong pointed out. And I thought to myself, no, actually, I don't want to do that. However, what it also got me thinking is like, okay, Frida, you've got this far, right? Like this, some of these people have come into your life later on, and they weren't there at the beginning. They weren't there when you were going to England. They weren't there when you were getting into PricewaterhouseCoopers, which is one of the largest professional services in the world, right? They weren't there when you were going to Colombia, but you did these things anyway. So for someone to come in and give me that feedback, it's just from their frame of reference, which actually, if I think about it, is pretty small in the grand scheme of things. If someone known me a year, it's pretty small. I have known me 37 years. So when I thought about that, I was like, hold on a second. There are actually things that I do really, really well. And so it forced me to go back and think about those things. So I encourage you to do that as well. Like really think about what are the things that you do well. And can you just leave the things you don't do well a little bit and focus on those and see what happens. And then number three is setting myself up on Upwork. What that means is sometimes, you just need a little extra cash. Babies, I don't know, whatever, a payment is late or something happens, or, you want to get nice shoes, or you want to add to your investment account, whatever it is in that month. I would just want to be able to know that if I need to go out and look for another $1,000, $2,000, $3,000 that month, willing to just really exchange my time for that in that season of my life, I can do that. Just switch it on, get some jobs, come back, do the work, switch it back off when that season is done. So that for me gives me a lot of comfort, and I feel a sense of security in that way. Okay, so income stream number 4. So remember, we've gone through income stream number 1, which is a main client. This is where I get a regular retainer and a paycheck from that. And then income stream number 2 is within that client, within that relationship, I have either equity inside of the business, which means I can own a part of it, or most likely what would happen is I just have like performance related pay that I get depending on if I hit XYZ, or if the business hits XYZ metrics, then I get paid XYZ. That's essentially all that means. And then the third one is the YouTube income. So here, what I didn't mention before is YouTube income can look like either ad revenue that comes in. Again, long-term game, it'll take at least 6 to 9 months before I get a single penny of that. And then it would also look like any form of affiliate marketing that I could do. So say I build an audience, build a community, I have some software, some services that I really believe in that I can share, then that can also come from there. And then income stream number 4, which is what I'm going to talk about right now, is Upwork. So when it comes to Upwork, this is, I would call it freelancing or switch on money on demand. Let's call it that. So what I'm looking at here is like if I'm ever in a place where I need to make more money, so maybe I want to put a little bit more in my investments, I feel like I'm a little bit behind, or I want to buy something new, or maybe there's a little trip that I'd like to take and I don't want to use any of my existing money, then I can very quickly just take some jobs off that, put myself on available for work, apply for some gigs, and then I can turn it off as and when I need to. And also it's just like a muscle that I've already used. And if I'm ever in a point where maybe I'm not working with a client and I have a bit of a gap, I have a bit of a transition point and I want to make some income, then I can also use Upwork for that. So it's a bit of like an insurance policy. So here's how it all works out. To stabilize my life, so I use my skills for income. Then I use income to stabilize my life. And then I use that income as well so that it can work for me. So this is putting it in investment accounts like the S&P 500, the FTSE 100, or in crypto, etc. Not giving financial advice here. However, just really thinking like, how can my money work for me as well as me work for my money? Like we're both working. And so all of that effort compounds over time. So in summary, you want to work smart. You want to build leverage. You also want to learn how to design systems, and you want to learn financial literacy. All of the things that I'll be talking about on this channel. So if you're interested in that, definitely hit the subscribe button.